even the journalists online who have joined us online now, you are most welcome. And as we are going to give a briefing, more information about this organization, and we just want to say thank you for coming and for availing yourselves. And at the end of the day, we're going to give you time and then to ask some questions. At this present moment, I'll ask Apostle John and then to say some few words.
Good afternoon, and I'm so honored to be here. On the 11th of June last year, the ruling of the Constitutional Court instructing Parliament to amend its electoral laws was a major milestone for the Church. At the dawn of democracy, there was a saying that was known throughout the country: the playing field is level. But with this ruling, I happened to meet the advocate that argued the case and won the case, and I'd like to quote him. He said, "A revolution has taken place without a shot being fired and one life being lost." And then he said, unless the people on the ground take responsibility and realize what has been afforded them in the next season, the victory that has been won in the Constitutional Court would be lost. And therefore, we have felt that we need to combine our efforts together to mobilize the people on the ground, communities, to be able to identify righteous rulers that's amongst us that could stand to occupy the space that will be created with the ruling of the Constitutional Court. Thank you.
On our side, when we discovered Russia's rulers as devoted citizens, we are at that point where we were so concerned about the problems of the nation, especially those who were in the church. When you look around this country, you've got many churches that are exercising excellence, order, and bringing more good principles into their community. But over the years, we have not seen the influence of those people who are so good in leadership when it comes to the issues of the church. And then we felt that we cannot take a backseat anymore, and we wanted to call out what we call the Daniels of our days, the Josephs of our days, the Esthers of our days, to take a responsibility to stand in the gap and begin to give a strong leadership. I think it was John Maxwell who said these words one day: everything rises and falls on leadership. The problem that we have in this nation, it is not resources. It is the problem of leadership. As devoted citizens and in joining forces with raising Russia's rulers, we felt now it is the time. Enough, it is enough. We need to raise those leaders who are going to represent us in the marketplace for a purpose of building this nation for the sake of the next generation. So we are here this afternoon, to raise our hands, not as a political party, but as a movement that says to all the leaders, those independent leaders in our community, the very same people that we know who have been role models in our community, we are here calling them to say, you are the Daniels, you are the Josephs, you are the Esthers. Take your rightful position and begin to lead your people so that we can have a better community for the sake of the next generation. I thank you.
And what we are calling as raising Russia's leaders, is raising Russia's rulers, is really an opportunity for true democracy, what we are seeing is that we as a nation are experiencing a time where us, the people of the nation, can enjoy the true benefits of democracy. Because true democracy is what? True democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, which means that it's a government where the people are fully involved and participate in the governance of the nation. In fact, this is what our constitution provides this for us. Our constitution provides for us to participate and be part of all decisions that are taken for the nation, that affect us as communities and as a nation. And this is the opportunity to do that, because what we are calling for, we are saying that the leaders within communities, and righteous leaders, ethical leaders, leaders whom us as communities will recognize as people that we can trust to have our interest at heart as a community. So many times we've seen other protests where people were crying, or rather were protesting and wanting some leader to be removed because they believe that that leader is not fit, is incompetent or corrupt or those sorts of things, but they couldn't. Because there wasn't an opportunity for people as individuals, citizens as individuals, to just get out and to have a say, basically, in who can be their leader. But with this opportunity for independent candidates to stand for us as communities, we have an opportunity now as a community, as a people, to elect people that we trust, without having to be part of a political party. I believe this is the emphasis that we want to bring out there. You no longer have to be part of a political party for you to vote for somebody that you know down there. Even if they are a pastor or they are a priest or they are whoever they are, if you know that there's somebody out there who we can trust, we know this person cares for us as a community, they are busy doing works here that make us have confidence in them to stand up for us, to represent us, and to look after the interests of our community. We can do that. And if those people don't perform, we don't have to wait for the next election 5 years to come. We can simply get them out of that position, change them anytime, and take somebody else, put them on that position. So it really does give freedom back to the people. People now have the power. We've been professing and saying this from the times of the Freedom Charter. That was the dream, that power will be in the people. But at the moment, we don't have that power. But with this new opportunity, we have that power. And that's what we are calling out there and saying, take advantage of this power now. Get involved in electing those people. Look to your neighbor, look everywhere around your community, and let those people come up. And those people themselves who know that they have that calling, that passion in their hearts to govern, those people who are in the church especially, the church has been sitting back and waiting for somebody else to get out there and do the work of governance. We are saying that governance is for us, all of us as a people, and particularly the church itself is called to be part of the ruling of nations. And so let the church come up, let the rulers, those Josephs, as has been said, in the church, come up and stand and be counted and register and become an independent candidate, represent your community. We need righteousness. It is said that when righteous people are in authority, people rejoice, because they will do the right things, and that's what we are promoting now. Thank you.
So we are really excited about this initiative of raising righteous rulers and building a culture of devoted citizenship. As we near this year, 2021, the local elections, we realize the urgency of the moment. We cannot wait for another year or 2 years. Now already, as Zandile have said, we need the independent candidates to rise up in our communities. With the local elections being in October, already the independent candidates need to be identified, but more importantly, we need to register what is called community forums in our communities, because when communities, and I can say whether it's a metropole or even a city, a town, a village, when they register that with the IEC, then they get what is called the proportional representation votes, as well as the votes they get for the candidates. And that's very important, because once you get the PR votes, that gives you a stronger influence in the governance sphere. With other words, it gives you seats on the city council, proportional to the votes that you got as part of the total. So this is really important. The IEC will announce most probably in August who are registered with them. So we need to get communities across South Africa registered as quickly as possible. So with the Raising Righteous Rulers initiative, we want to encourage everyone to go to our website. It's www.rrrsa.org, and in there you will find the steps, the guidelines, and even the template forms that you can simply complete very easily. Within 3-4 days, you can have all the process done. It's a short process, and when that is done, you can send it through to the IEC and register that. And then after that, start identifying the independent candidates that can stand up. Now, we just want to say also that, very importantly, this is not an initiative against political parties or even against government. No, no. This is to improve the system. The lacking ingredient in our political system is the fact that people can't hold those who they elected accountable. The lack of accountability is the problem. Now, with independent candidates, they directly represent their communities. So the people, the constituencies, can hold them directly accountable. And if they don't perform, don't do their work, they can be replaced. People don't have to wait until the next election. We want to emphasize this because this is not just about an alternative element in the political space. This is changing the political system. As we know that the Constitutional Court ordered Parliament to adjust the Electoral Act. They've got another, I think, about 12 months left before it needs to be changed in Parliament to accommodate independent candidates at provincial and national level. But now already this year in 2021, we need for local elections independent candidates from their communities to stand up, and it builds up towards the national elections in 2024. But let's get communities organized, and we are calling upon churches, upon community groups. There are taxpayers associations. There are all kinds of initiatives at ground level. Get organized and establish these community forums or citizens associations with the IEC so that we can get organized, get independent stand, and get the votes that we can so that we can influence governance in a good way. We're not here to promote party politics or politics. We're here to promote good governance.
Now, as a young South African woman representing other young people, and obviously I've spoken to them about this now and again, is that we are not only concerned about the state in which our country is in, but we're deeply concerned about the moral state of South Africa. Everybody can attest to this. South Africa is slowly spiraling out of control. And we can all tell right now, corruption rising, unemployment rate rising, quality of education in townships very poor, our municipalities falling apart, not to mention that every single day we're bombarded by negative news everywhere we go. It's like every day brings a new tragedy, if not discouraging statistics, and that needs to come to an end. So that's why I want to encourage young people today. Now, even to make things worse, is that our leaders do not have a decisive or a clear sense of what is fundamentally right or what is fundamentally wrong. And I think you can agree with me when I say this, that at some point, you can even think South Africa, our conscience has been muted. At best, I can say it's ambivalent. So young people, let us step up, come forward, take action, become the righteous, integrous ruler that our country needs. Yeah. And I want to appeal to you young people that you must register. This is extremely important. And not only that, but you need to vote. But when you vote as a young person, keep the future in mind. Keep South Africa in mind, keep the younger generation in mind, and keep the betterment of our country in mind. Young people, we need you. We need righteous, integrous leaders, innovative leaders. Young people, you're full of energy. You're full of ideas. We need that. Come join us so we can all make a difference together. I believe that the time has come for young people to rise. The time has come for real change. And I say as a young person, enough is enough. We're tired of sitting back and watching while our country is falling into corruption. Our country is collapsing. That cannot continue. But I believe that as young people, we can join hands and actually rebuild the nation of South Africa. Now, we need you with your kingdom mindset. Not only a kingdom mindset, but to come up with Christ-like and Christ-centered solutions, to have biblical values, to become servant leaders. And I know that it's in you as a young person. All you have to do is to get up from the sidelines and come to the table and offer solutions to the problems we have. Remember what the book of Matthew says. You are the solution. You are the light of the earth. You are a city that shines on a hill, and you are called to bring the dead bones to life. Get up, young people. Let us do our part. And I believe that nothing is impossible when we work together as young people.
Wow. There you go. We had to finish that, by a young person who's representing all of our young people, which is the sign of a cry that we have in this nation. Once again, this is a call to all the South Africans to say it is time for us to stand. Enough, it is enough. Now we're gonna open this session now for questions. We know we've got some journalists, media houses online, and if there's anybody now who wants to forward any questions to all of us, and anybody who's ready will definitely answer that question. I don't know, Nano, how we're gonna do that. Is there anybody ready? And then with those questions. Yes, the first hand here in there.
We have a hand here in the room. We will be giving this gentleman, who is going to introduce himself, an opportunity to speak. While he's doing that, kindly, all those who are on Zoom, please lift your hand up, raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question while he's asking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will call you the Amma of God. I'm very much impressed to be part of this media briefing. My name is Dingan Sitole. I represent the Pastors Forum in my area, Greater Johannesburg. When I got this invitation through Facebook, I was so much impressed and eager to come and hear from the horse's mouth. But so I'm not here to represent any political party, though I belong to one. And then, but I'm here to represent the body of Christ. I heard the men of God, Pastor Matebula, mentioned the Daniels, Josephs, and Esthers of the day. Of course, I believe and I also agree that the church has been sleeping for too long. 27 years is too much. The question will be, where were we all this time? We didn't see this happening? Well, as we know that politically, affairs of our country, the way the government is designed, of course, there was no room for independent candidates when it comes to provincial and national government. So I'm happy and glad that the court have ruled that the IEC have to give that room for everybody to become what the community want them to present. So coming to this, as we know that the proportional seats are allocated per political party or per I never heard about a representative of proportional seats in local government, provincial or national government. So the question is, let me assume that we, or young people from a certain ward came up and say, I want to stand as an independent candidate. How will the support be offered from this desk, number one? Number two, when the time comes to report back, as the system was designed for political reports and reporting back to the community via the channel of the political party, how this structure will make sure that that vehicle doesn't collapse moving forward. That's number two. And then number three, it was
Which is the last one, eh?
the last one, the last one. And the last one, concerning to moral and that avenue, you know that our churches has been dented so badly, majorities, in which we, the body of Christ, we almost seems to lose control of it, and the government want to come and control us. What is the position of this body regarding to that? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll say, Dr. Arno, are you able to answer the first two questions?
Yeah, I'll deal with the second one. I didn't get the first one. Just to be clear, what was the first one?
The first one is concerning to allocation of cities
Okay,
and to represent.
all right.
In
I'll
government.
deal with those.
First two.
Thank you. Okay, so just note the following, very importantly. Raising Righteous Rulers, this initiative will not be registered with the IEC. So we won't have candidates that represent us as RRR, for instance. The independent candidates we are talking about will be representing their communities directly. But our role is that of facilitation. Number one, activating community forums in communities, and then guiding and equipping and training those independent candidates. The fact that they are affiliated with us, a national network of affiliates with us initiative, helps us to set the standard for governance with them and through them. So here's how the second question, the structure will look like. We will be a body that assists communities. They won't represent us. They choose their own name, their own logo. They're welcome to use us to assist them in the process. So we guide and facilitate them. And also, when they raise up independent candidates, we then decide whether we would endorse those candidates or not. What we have is a criteria and evaluation system, and if they adhere to those, we would say as Righteous Rulers, here are the list of candidates in wards across the country that we support and we endorse. So our endorsement will then help to gain the support at ground level. But the accountability of those candidates will fall with those communities themselves. So with other words, in Mangaung, for instance, where I am, we've established the Mangaung Community Forum. That is registered with the IEC, and that is the formal structure under which those independent candidates are identified, and those are the ones that will hold them accountable as well. And the reporting needs to be done to the Mangaung Community Forum, for instance, by the independent candidates. We then stand in relationship, if I can put it like that, as Righteous Rulers, with these community forums around the country. So it's literally a network of relationships. The common denominator is the fact that we stand for ethical and biblical values, and that's what we promote, and that's also what we want to see in governance. They are not directly accountable to us. We are in relationship. So it's a flat structure, it's a network model, not hierarchical model, but within those community forums and in those community structures, we have the churches involved there, the church leaders. We also have what we call a guardian council within those structures, and that would be, in church terms, we talk about apostolic oversight. Leaders in that community who also evaluate and screen the candidates that are being elected and are being representing those communities. But the whole fact is that it is a decentralized model in communities. Independent candidates represent directly their communities. Communities hold them accountable, and we assist and facilitate with the process.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arno. And there was another question there about the pastors and the church. Where were we at that time? Maybe Apostle John, you want to take that one? And he also touched on the church or the leaders who are painted with other things. What would be your take, sir, on that one?
Well, where was the church? The church was always there, but the church was silent. But the silence is no more. We are rising, we are taking our place, we are adhering to the scriptures that the kingdom of God is at forcefully advancing, and the righteous, the forceful men advance it. It's time for the church to stand up. We are networking with men of like passion. Amongst, on a tree, there are always one or two of the fruit that are spoiled and are not well. But that doesn't give the whole tree is bad, because one or two of the fruit. The Church of Jesus Christ, by and large, has been true to the gospel, and we will accommodate and we will take care of guys that's from amongst us. From amongst us, we will hold one another accountable to the biblical standards. Thank you.
Thank you. Gonna take another question.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. My name is Andy, and I own an organization called Evolve 2030, which we actually target poor communities with the aim of making sure that we actually make them sustainable. So I think the question I have, I'll actually direct it to Dr. Aruna. You know, as you know, we've worked a lot, before together. But what I want to know is that within these communities, particularly, in terms of them obviously being independent candidates and also getting that support, from their community and so forth. I think what I want to know is that you spoke about the criteria, that you guys have. I think I want to know in terms of that criteria that you guys have in terms of selecting those type of people.
Yes, actually the person who developed most of that is Zandile, those criteria, so she can also more explain a bit more on that. I can just maybe say that, our reference is a biblical reference because we believe in biblical standards for society. So there's a couple of biblical models that we've looked at. The one is the Jethro principle model that we see when Moses had to select leaders. There's also the model in 1 Timothy 3, identifying leaders within the church, but not just for the church, for the community. So we've looked at some of those models, but Zandile has developed a whole set of criteria that can be used to screen. I just want to say about that, it is not a way for us to enforce something on communities or people. These are tools and options that communities can use, but they are excellent in terms of identifying the right kind of leaders.
Maybe just before Zandile comes, I don't know if you want to answer on that. And you'd realize that time and again, we're going to challenge people to become the Josephs of today. Because when you speak about Joseph, you're speaking about somebody who was diligent, somebody who exercised the spirit of excellence. That is your Daniel. So we are calling upon those type of people who are standing in those gaps, not just for themselves, but for the sake of the next generation. So those are some of the criteria that we have and then in this department, but we have all of those in our website, to say, if you want to be a part of the independent candidate, and then these are the qualities that we expect from you. I don't know if you want to add anything on that, Sis Zandi?
Just to say that it is critical to have standards. That's really what informs all of that. Standards that we can all agree now as a nation or as a community that this is what we are aspiring to get to. And that those standards be based on the authority of the Bible. I think that's what I can say, that one thing you can be certain of is all of those standards or all of those values that we've come up with are come from the Bible or came from the Bible. But also you will find that besides just the criteria, we've developed the tools that are criteria for people to use just to make it practical so that you are able to actually go through that and test people against that in order to pass them. But beyond that, we also have developed values that we believe should become a value system that will become a culture within the country eventually with time. And that came about as a process that we evolved with a number of people. And many people, about maybe 30, 40 people were meeting for a period of about 2-3 years where we were discussing about these values. And we looked at also existing values within the nation that have been developed, like the Batupele principles, as well as also the Moral Regeneration Charter. So we've included those as well as part of those values. And then others as well. We went into the Bible. We actually researched, took portions of the Bible, converted them into plain-looking values, and we call that absolute values that we believe we've come up with in that values.
Thank you, thank you. We've got another question there, and then we'll take one question this side, and then we'll take another question that side. Please be brief, and then I'll ask us as well, be brief. We've got only 19 minutes.
All right. No, thank you. What a great initiative, I would like to say. Thank you so much to the leadership for the vision and for being, or rather to be running with us. I've got only one question here. The question is there a closing date for the independent candidate to apply, especially for this coming election?
Dr. Arno?
Yes, I can maybe just respond. In terms of the local elections, there is not a specific date announced by the IEC, but what will happen in terms of the process? We know in October the local elections are going to be. In August, the IEC will announce those organizations and parties and forums that are registered with them. And then they will make a call to the public and say, now it's open to candidates to apply with the IEC, and then candidates need to respond. It will be probably within a month after they've made that announcement. It's expected to happen also in August. So I would, there's no fixed date, but I would assume within those parameters that by September would be, probably mid-September would be the latest for independent candidates. But of course, we want to encourage candidates to already start getting themselves ready. They cannot now already go and register with the IEC, the independents themselves. First, it's the forums and the organizations. But when the call comes in August, the candidates must be ready. So on our website, we have the whole criteria, what they need, signatures that they need, photographs, and the things that they need. It's all on our website to guide those candidates so they can start preparing.
Okay. Next question.
Oh, okay. My name is Tabang Mushidi. Okay, a quick one. I once ran a community forum called Sitlumlilo Community Forum. My office was based in Waterfall. So basically what happened, we did have members around Tembisa, Soweto, and etc. We did a lot of job about it. We fought a company called Accelerate, where when they didn't want to pay people for a back pay, and they make our people to work for free. So now we went and closed the center and stuff like that, and we wanted to take one another to court. But now the problem that came along the way is that there are people who are very powerful within the industry. There are people who would just shut you down. There are people with a lot of money. Young as I like what you are doing, because we got very discouraged because someone who's a billionaire and someone from Soweto who's starting a forum, they will just pay their way out so that they can move you out of the game. So now I love what I see, because when I look at you like this, I see people that if I go back and start the community forum and revive it, because we're very radical and stuff like that, we have closed. Sentence City, as we see, it was closed, a Bedford View. So now we're trying to fight for our people and our old women. So now we're a voice for the voiceless. So now is it possible that if I go back, I can come here at RR and say, guys, I need an advice. Which way should I take? When you talk about community forums, it's a good one. The structure that you are taking, it's amazing. I know what you're talking about. And that route you are taking, believe you me, I've been there, I've done that. You are taking a very great route. But now we've got people who are big fishes in this country who will just want to shut you.
Okay.
So now is it possible to come here and say, hey,
So you want to know if you can come back here for an advice and all that. Okay. You want to answer that? Who's going to answer that?
Quickly,
Just go for
and just say absolutely, because now you are part of a national network of forums, associations, and so on. And that changes the picture completely. Then you're not just this forum on your own. Now you're part of a national network, and we can all collaborate towards the same ends. But absolutely, that's the invitation part of today as well, to say to community forums, please come take hands with us, tell us that you exist, and if you want, please register with the IEC and start the process of independent candidacy. I think what we need is a critical mass to build up across the nation of communities putting up their hands, candidates putting up their hands, and that will bring a shift.
Okay, we've got 14 minutes. Somebody has to catch the 14 minutes, because somebody need to catch the plane. So I'm going to ask you to ask all your questions. You're going to ask one question, ask another one question, ask another one question, before we answer all of them. And then we're going to answer all your questions at once. Is that okay? So go for it, sir.
Yes, I'm Dingani Sitole again. Dr. Matebula, I call you Dr. Matebula all the time. It's a follow-up that was not answered concerning to proportional representative. The dynamics, political dynamics of our country says, for example, the IEC will announce very soon that out of maybe one seat, one PR seat in the council, it will be equals to 4,000, I'm just making an example.
Okay.
It will be equal to 4,000 voters. And then in the organization, we have got maybe 14 independent candidates.
Yes.
When it comes to allocation of seats, that was my question.
Okay.
When it comes to allocating proportional seats as a PR councillor candidate,
Okay.
how are we, or are you going to deal with that?
Okay.
Thank you.
We've got an answer for you for that. I don't know, you'll answer that. Go for it. Second question.
Yeah, just also a quick one. In one of these communities that I'm working in, I mean, it's quite a very broken community where it's extremely, the level of poverty, it's like high, 90% of people are literally unemployed. So you can see that there's literally low level in terms of educational skills. So I think what I want to know from here is that with the independent candidates, let's say particularly from those communities which people are not educated and so forth, what type of educational support, can you begin to provide? Because as soon as you're dealing with something that deals with governance, I mean, there's a certain type of skills that you need. Obviously, these guys are going to lead some of the project that deals with infrastructure. There's certain form of technical skills that you need in terms of that. So is there any form of support that you guys are going to provide for those type of people?
Thank you. Zandi will answer that. And then the third question. You good? No question. Okay. Arno? You had another question. So, okay, that's fine. Okay, go for it.
All right. Thank you so much for the question. Yeah, I think it's an important one. There are more technicalities, but let me make it as simple as possible for the sake of time. The model we are proposing is a decentralized model. So with other words, the community forums or associations that are established in those communities, they then can earn the PR votes. With other words, their independent candidates stand for elections and they get certain amount of votes. Those votes are pooled in those communities together, and those votes as a percentage of the total amount of votes give them the amount of PR votes that they get, or seats at the city council, depending on the formula that the IEC announces, whether it's 4,000 votes per PR vote. So it will be anchored in the community forums. That's where the PR votes will be determined, and in terms of, so us as righteous rulers won't get the votes because we're not contesting in the elections, but it will be the communities themselves. We will just guide and assist them, those forums that were established and registered with the IEC, in terms of what they can do with those votes. But it's determined by the votes that they get as part of the total amount of votes.
Okay. Zandi? Are you good with that? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, mine is pertaining to the equipping of the communities. We are working on a program of equipping communities training. We are actually having a program of that. We have it at different levels because there's then the voter education aspect, but there's also the equipping of the independent candidates themselves. We have a partnership with the School of Governance already that is ready to provide training, whatever training that's going to be needed to ensure that independent candidates are suitably qualified to fit into that position. That training is already in place, and it will be also organized as the people come in. So that is covered. And then in the long term, we are working also on voter education and how that is going to happen, especially amongst communities, like you say, where the education levels are low. We need to structure a program that's going to actually get this education to communities. And that's a program that we are working on. We're still working on that one.
Yeah. And at the meantime, what we do, we are giving this Devoted Citizen book, which is a simple principle, 21 principles, how to become a devoted citizen of your country. Basic things, love your country, do not litter, vote responsibly, see beyond the racial line, protect those who cannot protect themselves, be a voice to a voiceless. Basic principles, that people can read that and then they can actually have some few facts, moving forward. Okay, we're going to take the last question, and then we close this media briefing by also giving you ladies a final say, a moment for a final say. Last question.
Yes, Dr. Matebula, there will be a closing date for, the IEC will announce the closing date of PR councillors, even the candidate from the wards. As I've heard my leader there explaining how it will work, I might think that maybe we might find a problem as moving forward. What are the precautions that are there, measures that have been drafted to deal with that? Because they will say, for example, councillor candidates and the PR councillor candidate, this is the deadline for you to register your representatives. And the PR councillors are located based on the voters that they got. But there must be criteria, candidates already that you have to submit. So how are you going to submit those candidates? Because you must do candidate 1, 2, 3, etc. That's the lastest one. Maybe to the burning one. That will need Dr. Matebula himself. Okay. We have ACDP. It's a political party that represents Christian values and the biblical principles, etc. Did you approach or knock their doors? If yes, I'm interested. What were the outcome from you knocking those doors, approaching them, doing the presentation? What did they say in this case? Instead, because I see the danger when one is independent candidate. I've been there before. And as he say, the big fish will come, bazokwinya.
Okay.
What will be happening? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me quickly respond. Time is running out. It will be up to the communities themselves to identify that process. We're going to facilitate and assist them in terms of how to deal with the PR votes. As I said, it's much more technical than what I've explained, but just know that we have a process in mind. How are they going to identify number 1, number 2, number 3, and the whole, we have a plan in place for that. But yes, it's as you say, that is something important that needs to be dealt with. But it's going to be dealt with at community level. We'll facilitate. So we're not going to identify on ourselves the number 1, 2, 3. It will be the communities, but we will facilitate those processes.
Yeah. On the question that was directed to me, the answer is simple. We recognize all the political parties that are there, and then we honor and respect the work that they are doing, especially the political party that we have mentioned. You know, we support what they are doing and all that they've done over the years. What is happening with this movement now, it is because we have identified the gap. Not just us, but even the court itself. You know, they said, you know what, the system of our politics in this country, it is not fair, you know, and why can't we give people who wants to stand as an independent candidate an opportunity? Because the truth is, look at our population. How many voters we had the last time? You know, the majority did not vote for all the political parties that are there because they cannot identify themselves with those political parties. Yet, whatever the decision that is made in the country, it is affecting everybody. So what we are saying here, ACDP continue to do great work. You know, we're fully behind you. Those who are other parties as well continue to do great work. But those who are saying, I cannot have a home from this political party, I don't want to have a home in this political party, let us encourage them as well to find a new home. If they don't want to find a new home, but they want to stand as independent candidate, you know, for their community. Because remember, the problem that we have over the years, we were just, you know, voting national. The focus was more on the national elections, but not on the local, you know, elections. So what we are pushing here, we are saying, if you are a father in Tembisa for this small group, why don't you come up and raise your hand to represent this group of people to make sure that they are well represented? You become a voice for these people where other political parties cannot even reach in that area. You see, you are known in your community. You've got a voice in your community. So we want to say, those people, those ndunas, you know, in that small place, raise your hand because you've got a passion for your people. So we are not here as a political party. We are not a political party. We are here saying to the independent candidates in your space, in your community, you know, it is time for you to rise and become a voice so that you can represent your people. Another emphasis that personally I have, I said, you go to churches, there's a lot of excellence in the church, there's order. There are marshals, there are worship leaders in a beautiful way. But when you leave the premises, the place is dirty, just on the street. So we are saying, churches, don't just exercise excellence in your building. Take the very same excellence and apply that in your community. Let the people in your community begin to see that. So that is our mandate. Our call, we are just saying to all ordinary men and women, young people who has an influence at school. They are leaders out there. Why can't you stand and begin to influence other young people in building this nation? So that it's our stance. If maybe the other question can be, if one person comes from one political party and say, I want to be an independent candidate, what are we going to do? All that we are saying, here are the requirements. We want you to follow these qualities, and then we'll stand behind you, because it is not about us. It's all about producing leaders who are going to make this country a better country. We've got last 2 minutes. I think it would be fair to give it to these ladies, you know, to have something. And then finally, what are you going to say, my dear?
All right, so a lot was being said right now. I'm blessed myself, but I'm a part of a team, so it's amazing. But just in conclusion, I think everything has been said, everything has been explained, but I just need to emphasize this because the truth is we are in a crisis hour in our nation, and we cannot afford to be passive as individuals. Time is gone where you sit on the sideline and complain and hope things to happen. It won't happen. You need to come in, join the table, and make it happen. We need to move from intention, from inaction to action. And you must understand that right now, our country is bleeding. It's bleeding on our families, on our friends, on our communities. It's bleeding on our leaders. That's why things are the way they are right now. So as South Africans, I'm saying join hands with us. We need to work together to rebuild the walls of South Africa. And in conclusion, I just want to say this, that when you are sitting at home and you are asking yourself, where do I start? How do I do this? Join us, volunteer. There's a lot of other organizations out there that are making a difference. And I want to emphasize again, register. Register and vote, because your vote counts. And when you do vote, keep the future in mind. Keep the coming generation in mind. Yes. And this is my question to you as I give the mic to Usizandi. That what is your responsibility as an individual, as a citizen, as a South African? What is your responsibility towards your country and its people? If you can't answer that question, you need to go back to the drawing line and reconsider exactly what it is that you want to do, what you want to change, and what you want to see become different.
Wow. Says Zandi.
You know, we've had so many people are said to be apathetic. I think somebody was telling us the statistics of the number of people who don't vote. Some go to register, but in the end, they don't even vote. But the critical question to ask is why does that happen? Why do people feel like it's not worth it for them to vote? It's because many would say that it's not worth it. Many would say, I don't see anybody that I can vote for amongst what's presented to us here. And that's made people, as a people of the nation, we felt helpless. Some people find that there's just nothing they can do about the situation. And so what we are saying now is here is now the opportunity you've been waiting for. Because here now, those people who have seen nobody that they could vote for out there have now the opportunity to pick the person they wanted all along. They knew that there's somebody next to me. Here in the community, we know this guy is good, but there's no way to put them up there because he must be a member of a political party. And today we are saying they don't have to be. You can put them there, even up to national parliament, without that. So there's no reason anymore to sit there and not get involved in what's happening in the nation. So getting involved, let people get out there and vote because, as they say, you are actually complicit with the things that are going wrong. I think voters must really listen to this one, that actually you are part of the problem yourself. It's the voters that are voting the problem back into power over and over. And it's the voters who will change things in the nation if anything has to change. And therefore, this is time for things to change. And there's no excuse now. You can get anybody to get out there and do the right thing, or you can be that right person who gets out there and does the right thing. And my last word is to other bodies and initiatives who are also passionate about this matter or understand this and feel the need to go into this independence opportunity, that can we work together? I'm really calling for unity. I'm calling for an end to competition and attitudes of thinking it's us, them, and because they are doing this, we won't be part of it. We need a national network of same voices, people who speak in one voice, because that's only then that we can have the power. The church is 80% of this nation, but the church is the most ineffective and uninfluential body in this nation because we don't speak in one language. And this is the opportunity and the time to speak in one language, support each other, form the forums, and let the forums work together as one. There's no boss or down or low person here. That's why we say it's a flat thing, just a network of collaborators who just want to see the nation do well. Thank you.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to spoil it. We're going to leave it right there and say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for those questions. Thank you, to the media house as well online. We pray and believe you're going to take that story and begin to run with that. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Arno, all the way from Bloemfontein, traveling into this place. And thank you, Apostle John, all the way from Pietermaritzburg, and then coming in here and then to do this great work. And then we know that God will see us through. All this is because of the love of South Africa. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time, and we bless you.